Are you training harder than ever, pushing your limits, and yet feeling an overwhelming sense of fatigue, frustration, and even fear about your performance? What if I told you that these feelings could be a sign of a more serious condition known as Relative Energy Deficiency in Sport, or RED-S? This isn't just about the numbers on the scale or the calories you consume. It's about your health, your well-being, and your passion for the sport you love. In a world that often pressures us to conform to certain ideals, many female athletes find themselves caught in the cycle of underfueling their bodies, unaware of the long-term consequences to their performance, but their overall health. Studies suggest that up to 60% of female athletes in sports that emphasize leanness, such as gymnastics, figure skating, and distance running, may experience some degree of energy deficiency, and 30 to 50% of female athletes across various sports are estimated to have menstrual dysfunction, which is a key indicator of RED-S. So if you've ever questioned whether you're doing enough to fuel your body, or if you've experienced fatigue, mood swings, or performance dips, this episode is for you. Join me as I break down the barriers, stop the silence, shine a light on this critical issue, and empower you with the knowledge to take control of your health and your athletic journey. Let's get started. Tired of feeling exhausted after training? Confused about how to fuel your body without all the food rules? Welcome to Female Sports Nutrition, where I'll help you fuel strong, build muscle, and perform your best, all while breaking free from diet culture. I'm Kristen, a sports dietitian, trainer, and Jesus lover, and I'm here to help you fuel with freedom. Lace up your shoes, grab that smoothie, and let's jump in. Are you spending hours a day on Google and social media following the latest influencers telling you what you should and shouldn't do, and you're so confused? Do you want to get stronger and boost your performance, but you're afraid to eat carbs, afraid to eat fat, and afraid to eat more, and you're so conflicted on what's actually good for you at this point? I spent hours picking myself apart in the mirror, wanting to be stronger, fitter, and to be able to lift more. I had 1,000,001 other things I could have been using that time on, but instead I wasted it on feeling defeated and lost. It affected my energy, performance, and mental health. I want you to know there's a better way, and you don't have to be stuck in the cycle of confusion or defeat for one more day. I invite you to come learn how to actually fuel your body so you can build muscle without dieting, without the food police, and without taking any unhealthy supplements. Once I finally turned away from all the noise and learned how to fuel my body, I was able to build over 10 pounds of muscle in just 3 months. I had so much energy, I was actually excited to go to the gym and felt great the rest of the day. I still fuel my body this exact same way even 10 years later, and I've never looked back. If you're ready to turn down the noise and get clear on how to fuel your body so you can get stronger, head on over to elitenutritionandperformance.com/coaching right now, and let's get started. So before we get into today's episode, let's talk about what RED-S is, or Relative Energy Deficiency in Sport. RED-S is a condition that occurs when an athlete does not consume enough energy or calories to support their training and their physiological needs, which can lead to a range of health and performance issues. So this can be anything from cardiovascular issues to bone health, not building enough bone and actually losing bone, so osteoporosis or osteopenia, poor performance, decreased energy and motivation, muscle loss, which leads to strength loss and ultimately performance loss. But then there's also going to be the mental side of things, which is going to include anxiety, depression, mood swings like anger and sadness, all the things. And you might have already heard about female athlete triad, but RED-S is kind of like a bigger umbrella term over female athlete triad. So female athlete triad had its time to shine for a while, but female athlete triad is actually under RED-S. So female athlete triad, if you ever heard of it but don't remember what it is, it's where you have osteopenia or osteoporosis. You are not getting a period for a number of months in a row, and you're also struggling with disordered eating. But here's the deal with RED-S and why it's different. You actually don't have to have an eating disorder. You don't have to have osteoporosis, and you don't even have to have no period at all. But you could be struggling with the other signs and symptoms of RED-S where you can still have RED-S. And RED-S can affect anybody. You don't have to be an elite athlete. Heck, you don't even have to be a female. You can still struggle with RED-S. I think a lot of people think, oh, well, I'm not an elite athlete and I'm not 90 pounds. I don't have an eating disorder. I'm actually overweight. How could I be struggling with RED-S? And here's the deal. You can still be struggling with RED-S. So if you feel like you are disqualified from falling under the term of RED-S, because you're not an athlete and you don't have an eating disorder or you're not underweight, do not turn off this episode. I want you to listen to the whole thing because I promise you will get something out of this. So I'm going to tell you my personal story when I struggled with RED-S. This has actually happened twice in my life, but I'm going to give you the story that has happened more recently, which wasn't too recent ago, but it was recent enough. It was actually before I had kids, and I was actually training to compete in a figure competition. This was a goal of mine, something that I've always wanted to do back when I was struggling the first time with RED-S, when I actually had an eating disorder. And so I was afraid to still build up my calories enough to eat to support what I was doing in the gym. I was trying to build muscle, but I was too afraid to increase how much I was eating. And I was training 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. That's 12 hours a week of pushing myself really hard in the gym. But like I said, being too afraid to increase the amount of food that I was eating. I eventually did increase my food. But then once I got to the cutting phase where I was trying to lose body fat, I had cut too far back. And so I went basically the other direction from where I was when I was doing really well, when I had lots of energy and I was actually building muscle. I went the other direction and I had cut too far back. And so what wound up happening was I was losing precious muscle that I had worked so hard for. I felt like garbage all the time. I had a really hard time waking up in the morning because I couldn't sleep at night. I could crash really easily, but I could not stay awake because RED-S affects your sleeping patterns, unfortunately. So then I was trying to get up in the morning before work and go to the gym and push myself in the gym. But what wound up actually happening was I was so upset that I would actually cry at the gym. This happened before. I had my head on the squat rack bar and I was crying because I was just so tired and so overwhelmed. And then I'd go into work and I was just so angry because I was so tired. One day I eventually came to my senses and I went out and ate 4,000 calories in the second half of the day. And I stepped on the scale the next morning and I literally had not gained an ounce. Well, speed up to, I did the competition. I said I would never do it again because it was such a horrible experience. And then a couple months later, my husband and I decide that we want to try to get pregnant. Well, guess what happened? I did not get my period for 6 months after I went off birth control because I was still dealing with RED-S. My doctor actually told me, you need to eat more and you need to eat more fat. And so I kind of gave myself a pass to go back to eating more food and fueling myself correctly. I eventually figured out how to fuel myself the right way so that I can build muscle and be strong and not feel like I am dealing with the food police. And if this is you, I invite you to reach out so that I can help you with that. Just head on over to my website, elitenutritionperformance.com/coaching, and I'll drop that link below for you so that we can get started and get you out of this. So let's go ahead and talk about what the signs and the symptoms are of RED-S so you can see if this is affecting you. So number one is fatigue. If you have chronic fatigue that just won't go away, or you go to the gym and then when you get done, you just feel like you're tired all the time and you're not getting your energy levels back up to where they were, you're not recovering well for your next training session, this is a sign that you could be struggling with RED-S. If you are having menstrual irregularities, doesn't even mean that you're not getting a period. It could just be that 1 month it's 30 days, the next month it's 45 days, the next month it's 20 days, or your period's lasting 2 days long, or sometimes it's 10 days long. All these irregularities are signs of RED-S. If you're also getting injuries more frequently, this can be a sign of RED-S. If you're getting stress fractures, or you're pulling muscles, or you have an injury that's just nagging you that keeps coming up, RED-S could be the reason. And like I said, there's going to be a lot of psychological symptoms, and this can be mood changes. So for me, I was sad, not motivated, and I was angry all the time too. So you could be struggling with anxiety, irritability, depression, lack of motivation, all the things. And this can really affect your desire to even want to continue training. And of course, these are all signs of RED-S. Now, there's also going to be some performance indicators of RED-S, and this is going to be things like decreased performance. You have slower run times or swim times or cycling times or whatever your sport is. Your strength has reduced. You can even see a physical decrease in your muscle on your body. And overall, you're just not able to push yourself like you once were in the gym. And unfortunately, ignoring RED-S is not going to work well for you. You can't ignore it because there are going to be long-term health risks. So these are going to be things like osteoporosis or osteopenia. So that's where your body is not holding on to enough calcium to build bone or keep the bone in your body, which can lead to more injuries. but you can get osteoporosis or osteopenia later in life, even if you don't have it right now. You can start having cardiovascular or heart issues. So things like a racing heartbeat, for example, or skipping heartbeats. Also, reproductive health concerns. Like I mentioned in my story, I had a hard time getting pregnant because I was not fueling myself properly for the amount of training that I was doing. And if you're one of the people that is not getting a period, that might sound all well and good for right now, but unfortunately, when you don't get a period, it actually is leaching the calcium out of your bones, which then can lead to osteoporosis later on in life. So then you're going to be old grandma who fell and broke her hips and is now having to use a walker to get around. You don't want to be that person. So here's what you can do. Number one is to understand what your calorie needs are, especially during periods of heavy training. So this is the number one problem with RED-S, is that you are not taking in enough calories or energy to support your training. And it might be that one day you are, but the other days you aren't. And if you have a period of time where you're going to have a heavier training load, you need to increase your calories during that time, which is not just protein, but also carbohydrates and fats, so that you are supporting your body to do what it needs to do. And sometimes this may not be an intentional thing. It could be just simply that you don't really know how to put together a balanced meal plan, or how to cook for yourself, or how to grocery shop for yourself, or it's just very overwhelming and you don't even know how to do it and you don't even want to deal with it. I get it. That's where I come in. Let me help you with that. Again, head on over to my website that I've dropped the link below for you so we can get started on some one-on-one coaching to get you through all that. But sometimes this all just starts as a very benign thing and it's not anything intentional. So we need to focus on making sure that you are getting in enough calories to support your training load, especially during periods of high training. Also create healthy meal plans and get started on meal prepping so that you can make things easy for yourself, so that you're not having to recreate the wheel every time you want to eat something. Meaning you don't need to go to the kitchen and cook something every time that you want to eat. And I have lots of podcast episodes on how to easily create meals for yourself, even with easy convenience foods. I'll drop the link below for you. And if you don't even know where to start on creating a balanced meal for yourself, I will drop that link below for you as well. Next up, if you have a coach that you're working with or a trainer, I highly suggest that you talk to them and tell them what is going on so that they can give you an easier training load for a period of time so that you can get over this hump. Most coaches want to see you succeed. They don't want to just keep pushing you until you can't do it anymore and then you just abandon the sport altogether. So be open and honest and talk to them. Next up, make sure that you talk to your doctor and get some testing done to see if you are low in some vitamins and minerals. The number one thing that you might be low in is vitamin D as well as iron. So go to your doctor, get those things tested at the least, and see, do you need to start building those back up? So if you feel like any of these things that I've discussed today are problem areas for you, something that you're struggling with, I highly suggest that you start learning how much you need to be taking in on a day-to-day basis, figuring out how to meal prep and plan. And like I said, this is something that I can help you with. And if you're looking for a sign, this is your sign. Next up, make sure that you're talking to your coach or your trainer about this. And if you're creating your own training plans, make sure you give yourself an easier couple of weeks just to get over that hump while you work on building back up your food. You want to treat your body nicely so that you can perform well and be healthy long term. And last up, make sure that you go to your doctor so you can get some testing done to see if you are deficient in anything. And then we can start building you back up in those as well. Again, RED-S is not something to be ignored. It will come back to bite you because there are long-term health implications. And again, if you are struggling with this, head on over to my website, elitenutritionandperformance.com/coaching, and let's get you started back on the road to building muscle and boosting your performance the healthy way. Hey friend, if this podcast inspired you, encouraged you, or changed you, I would love for you to leave me a review and share it with a girlfriend who will find it helpful or inspiring. That is the best way you can thank me and help me share my knowledge so I can help more people just like you. I'm so thankful that you spent this time with me today, and I'd love to connect with you. Join my Facebook group, Female Sports Nutrition, or send me a DM on Instagram, or hop on over to my website, elitenutritionandperformance.com. I'll see you back here next week.